Today we're going to go over the exterior inspection checklist. It should go without saying that while you're on the flight line, use the appropriate protective gear, hearing protection, and ensure all your zippers, your pockets are properly engaged. Okay, to start with, we begin the inspection here at the door seal. We want to look around the perimeter of the opening to ensure that there's no damage, and also the gasket that seals against the inflatable seal looks undamaged as well. The exterior handle of the door should be stowed after you open it initially, but in case it's not, you want to ensure that it's stowed at this time. This is an example of what it would look like if it's not properly stowed. Static ports on this side, there are two of them, located on the bottom part of the fuselage here. Here you're looking to be sure that there's no obstruction, no paint or oil contamination. As we work up, you'll see the AOA vane. Here you want to gently rotate it and ensure that it moves properly. Next is the windshield wiper. Again, the key word is gentle. You want to gently lift it up from the fuselage and ensure that it's not seized or frozen in position. You also want to pay close attention to the clip, the retaining clips on the windshield wipers, and be sure that they are in the proper position, they haven't failed. That if they aren't if they aren't in good condition, they could fail, scratch and damage the windscreen, and eventually lead to failure of the actual windscreen itself. Now, after TO, the ice detect TO, you'll notice an ice detector up here. We're looking to see that it's simply in good sound condition. Brake reservoir is next. The window here, you're looking for simply a complete red circle indicating that it is full. Service panel should be secure. Now, it's not unusual to find this open if you've got a crew chief attached, because you'll see this is the headset connection for the crew chief. If it is open, he'll be sure and close that before you launch. Moving down again, the pitot drain port. Here you're looking to ensure that it is closed. Next is the nose gear. Here we're looking for several things. Overall condition of the nose wheel, including the rubber tire. There should be no treads showing at all through the rubber. Looking to be sure that there are nuts all the way around, and it's an overall good sound condition. Moving up, pay special attention to the nose gear torque link. It's not unusual to have this disconnected for towing purposes, so you want to ensure that it's been properly reconnected. This is an example of the torque link completely disconnected. This is an example of it connected, but with a pin not in the proper position. And then finally, we have an example of it properly stowed. Pay close attention here to the actual position of the pin and the retaining clip and wire as it's stowed around the pin itself. While you're in this position, it's real easy to look up as well on the nose gear uplink. If you get in this position, you can look up forward and see that it's in the proper location. You also want to ensure that the forward doors are closed and flush with the fuselage. While we're down here, we're looking up at the cabin air discharge duct. You got two of these, ensure that they are clear. Moving towards the front of the aircraft, we're going to look at the nose, at the landing light door, and ensure that it's flush with the aircraft as well. It'll be obvious if it's not flush. Up here to the pitot tube, we're looking for several things. If you look on the back of the pitot tube, you'll notice two small openings. Moving towards the front, you'll notice one large overall opening and then two smaller openings within that main opening in the front. Okay, as we move around the nose of the aircraft, we'll see another pitot tube. This is going to be inspected exactly the same way as the one on the other side. Next is the oxygen service door. Here we're ensuring that it is secure. As a technique, some pilots will open it to get a readout of the actual oxygen pressure. This is a duplication of the reading you'll see from the co-pilot seat. Again, landing light door, ensuring that it's secure and flush with the outside of the aircraft. Environmental scoop should be clear, especially if you're running the aux cool. Next item is the oxygen blowout disc. If this is not present, you should contact maintenance to have the system serviced. This is a close-up of what the item looks like. While you're down here, just below them are the pitot static drain ports. There are 2 of them on this side. Same thing holds true for these as the one we inspected previously. Moving up, we're looking again at the windshield wiper. Once again, looking for the same things as we did on the other side. Now, as a technique here on this side, way to remember what we're inspecting, think about moving in kind of an up and down W pattern. We started down low, we'll move up, down, up, finally on our inspection on this side. Again, moving down, you see the next item is a static drain port, same as the one before. AOA vane, is a duplicate of the one on the other side. And then static ports on this side, same thing holds true, checking for any kind of contamination or obstructions. Escape hatch. Again, looking for the overall condition of this escape hatch, and we want to be sure that it's properly installed. To do this, we notice that it's flush all the way around the exterior of the door, with the exception of the top. It's acceptable to have the top leaning in somewhat, and when the aircraft is pressurized, it'll expand and again become flush with the outside of the aircraft. Now, this is an example of what one might look like if it weren't properly installed on the pins on the interior of the aircraft. Moving aft, wing inspection light. Pretty simple, just looking for the overall condition and be sure it appears to be in working order. Wing leading edge scoop, directly underneath it, ensuring that it's clear. Now, for the generator air inlet nacelle, you've got to look straight back at the 6 o'clock position of the engine itself. Again, looking for it to be clear and no obstructions. Dorsal fin air inlet, if you look to the right of that and look at the vertical stab, you'll see an inlet similar in design to the air scoop at the nose of the aircraft, but it's located on the actual dorsal fin. Moving back down to the wing, we're inspecting the wing leading edge. Looking for 2 things here really. Any kind of damage due to an impact, and also looking for signs of overheat, and that would be shown with discoloration. The fuel filler cap, checking to ensure that it's flush, secure, and that the lever is in the aft facing position. Fuel tank pressurization is directly underneath it. That scoop should be clear as well. That should be noted while we're down here. It's a great time to check the sniffle valves. We've got 2 of them out here in the wingtip. And here, as you'll recall, it's acceptable to have a drop of fuel hanging from it. But if you've got more than that, particularly a stream or multiple drops, you want to contact maintenance. That's not acceptable. Moving further out, we'll find the wingtip vent scoop. Very small inlet, but it too should be clear. And then finally, on the wingtip, the navigation anti-collision strobe lights. Looking for the overall condition of the outer skin, and also the 3 lights underneath to be in good working order. Okay, while you're out here at the wingtip inspecting lights, it should key in your brain to look up at the top of the vertical stab. You've got an anti-collision light up there, and since you can't see it from the aft angle of the aircraft, is a perfect time to inspect it at this point, and it looks good. Okay, moving to the aft portion of the wing, we're looking at the wing anti-ice exhaust port. Again, should be clear. Next is the roll trim tab. Overall condition, and that it should be, under normal circumstances, should be flush with the rest of the wing. Static wicks, 3 per wingtip, and they all need to be present. Spoilers along the entire wing here. It's important that you don't manually actuate them. That could cause damage. And you want to keep your hands clear from them as well in case somebody's inside the aircraft actuating them. Looking for overall condition. While we're back here, flap should be inspected as well. Looking again for overall condition, looking for signs of damage. It's a good idea to look underneath the aircraft, underneath the wing, to ensure that there wasn't a bird strike on a previous sortie. Okay, now to inspect the main landing gear, looking for overall condition. The tire itself shouldn't have any obvious signs of damage, no large cuts, and it should also display adequate tread. Now you should have tread limitations for the type of sortie that you're flying, and be sure you double check the amount of tread showing with your sortie that particular day. Looking at the outside, you want to ensure that the nuts are all in place and that you've got some thread showing through to indicate that the nut's not backing off. The hydraulic lines themselves should be in good shape. There shouldn't be any obvious leaks of fluid. You're looking for a strut extension of 1.1 inch minimum. And as a technique, you can reach down and feel the brake pin and ensure that it's protruding, indicating there's plenty of brake pad and that the brakes aren't seized. The exterior door is securely fastened to the main strut, and you want to look up there and ensure that the uplink mechanism is properly positioned. And this is a picture of what it would look like. Okay, the next item is the engine, the inlet, and the fan. Easiest way to do this is kind of a limbo routine to get back so you can actually look inside the inlet. Here you're looking for obvious signs of damage again. Be sure the fans are in good shape, that there's no significant rub around the perimeter of the fans, that the T-0 and the T-1 probes are intact and in good shape, and that all the rivets and the screws are properly fastened. The screws should have a red line painted across them, which if they're starting to back out will be obvious to the eye. Moving the outside, we're looking for a good overall condition of the cowling. No significant dents, dings, and that everything's flush, nothing exposed to the airstream. Now to check the engine oil, you open the light and use a press to test, and you'll see this green light come on. Now we've also got a requirement to physically check the oil refill, and you're going to physically ensure that that cap is closed and secure. And then you'll refasten those doors. Good idea to give them a tap to be sure they're not going to come open. Now, coming down here, we're going to look at the aft cabin exhaust vent, and we'll ensure that that is clear. While you're down here, just look straight up, and you'll see that the drain tubes are right there in front of you from the engine. Double checking to be sure that they're clear and undamaged. Moving to the back of the engine, pretty much the same rules as the front of the engine, looking for overall condition, no missing or damaged fan blades, no foreign object, and that you've got no pooling of fluids. Now if it's rained recently, it's not unusual to see some pooling and puddling of some water. What you don't want is fuel or oil pooling there. Looking up, you'll see the upper aft right fuselage vent outlet, and that's in the upper part of the fuselage. You want to be sure that that's clear. Closer to you is a gravity fill point, and you want to be sure that that door is, the refueling door is secure. And then you've got the single point refueling door right here. You want to ensure that that's secure as well. Cooling air discharge duct right here. You want to be sure that it's clear. Right and left fuel vents. You got to get a little bit underneath the fuselage to see them. Right and left, be sure that they're clear. And finally, you've got the right aft fuselage vent inlet. You want to ensure that that's clear as well. Now let's move on to the tail. Okay, to check the tail, we're really accomplishing steps 7 through 11 in one package here. You want to look at the overall condition. The horizontal stab is obviously in place. You want to give special attention to the horn area where the elevator meets the stab. You want to check the static wicks to ensure you've got 2, 4, 6 of them in place. Also pay close attention to the roller part where the horizontal stab meets the vertical stab. You'll see an unpainted area there. And you want to look at the hinge area. Now for the rudder itself, you're looking for a good condition. And where the rudder trim tab is, you'll notice a nut and a cotter pin that should be in place in this location. Also looking at the strobe at the base and at the upper part of the vertical stab. Same thing holds true for the other side. Now you remember when we were at the wingtip, we've already looked at the anti-collision light on top, so we fulfilled that requirement already. Okay, the left side of the aircraft is going to be real similar to the right with a few exceptions. The inlet up here, of course, is the same. An addition that we have is the fire extinguisher discharge indicator. Now if there's not a plug here, you've got a problem. That's indicated that the fire extinguishing agent has discharged because of thermal considerations, and you'll have to have that serviced before you go. So if it's solid here, you're in good shape. Upper aft fuselage outlet is good. Okay, to inspect the aft compartment, first we'll start with the ground power service door. Now here it's showed in the closed and secure position. Probably more likely you're going to have power actually plugged into the aircraft through there, so you have no choice but to leave that open. Ground personnel will secure that. Now to open the door, you open these two fasteners and hold it securely, otherwise it'll drop freely. And then to open the upper door, you'll find a latch in the closed position will be positioned aft. You'll rotate that downward, and that'll open this door. Now to start with in the aft compartment, first thing you want to look at is a hydraulic flight fluid sight gauge. That's going to be located up here, and here's a picture of what one typically looks like. You want to ensure that the fluid level is reading properly between those two marks. After that is the storage box. Here you're going to store additional oil or fluids for your cross countries. You want to ensure that all the fasteners are securely fastened. Now for everything else in the aft compartment, it's going to be aft. Start out with the fire bottle pressure gauges. There are two of them. They're located high in the aft compartment, and those should read the proper pressure. Now you can find that on the placard on the bottle itself. These happen to be 600 psig. Right below that you'll see the battery. You're looking for proper connections and that there are no obvious fluids. Behind that you'll find 3 circuit breaker panels. Now you want to ensure that all 3 of those panels, all of the breakers on them are not open. Below the battery you'll find the aft compartment light switch. Now if you choose to turn it on, just ensure that you turn it off before you finish up in the aft compartment. And that'll finish up the aft compartment portion. Now we'll close the door. Again, important to get the sequence right. Upper door first, latched, and then the large door. Okay, while you're down here after you're finished with the aft compartment, it's real convenient to look at the power brake pressure gauge. Now some aircraft are better or worse than others. Some of the windows are kind of crazed over and you really might have to position yourself to look in. But you're going to look at the pressure gauge, and when you're static, unpressurized now, you should have 900 psi plus or minus 50. Now remember that that gauge is tied to the accumulator. And once the hydraulic system is pressurized, the second indication on this window shows you that would be at 1500 psi. Now the remainder of the left side of the aircraft is going to be identical to the right side, so I won't go over those points again. But a good technique is to go out to the front of the aircraft and give it one more look over. Let's go do that. Okay, good idea to take one last overall look at the aircraft before you hop in it and take it in the air. This is your last opportunity to look for any grounding wires, chains, cables, leaking fluids, remove before flight pins, any other red flags that jump out at you. So come up here, get an overall scan, look under the aircraft, look for any of those things that you might have missed on your walk around or that somebody might have come along behind you and changed since you last looked. And once you're satisfied with that, that completes the exterior inspection.